Nate!
Mushin, Mikey over here.
Rock and Roll Roundtable!
Yep, absolutely. As always, presented by Moshman Media.
This week, Artist Spotlight, Winger.
Winger. Yeah, the reason we kind of chose Winger is because they recently came out and said that this was it. They're going to retire. At least they're in the middle of doing that because Japan is their final tour there. And I saw an interview with Red Beats that said Kip is feels like his vocals have fallen off. Now Reb says he doesn't notice it. He doesn't really hear it. That he thinks he still sounds great, but Kip is a perfectionist kind of guy, and he has other options to do things too. I think he's really into classical music and scores and all that. So I thought, man, if we're gonna do a deep dive spotlight, whatever you want to call it, on any band, and we did the 70s at one point, was like with Seeger. So I thought we'll move to the 80s. And respectfully, I wanted to do Winger because it might be, they might be on their farewell tour. And I see Winger as one of these people that if they say they're done, they're done. Because, Reb has White Snake he plays with, he has other stuff. Kip has a lot of other things going on. And without Kip Winger, you're not really Winger. You'll never
No.
be Winger. And so it's like, so I thought that would be cool to pick Winger, and I liked Winger, even though they were the subject of a lot of ridicule. Kind of, if you remember Beavis and Butthead, the doofus kid wore a Winger shirt. They kind of made fun of him for wearing Winger. It was always they're like the Nickelback of the '80s, kind of undue
Well,
hate, really.
yeah, it's when they first popped out, it was, you know, Kip was a pretty boy.
Yeah,
He was a pretty had that nice little shaved beard action going on and the fucking hair flying everywhere. So, he caught a lot of shit for that. He really did.
yeah. I
But
mean, wearing the shirt over the shoulder kind of thing was the
yeah,
bad one for me. I was like, come on, man.
but
Yeah, but I
honestly,
mean,
that first fucking album was really, it had a lot of fucking good songs on it.
oh yeah, yeah. I mean, it was a hit machine. And you got to remember this is tail end. I mean, it's not the tail end, but it's like right after Guns N' Roses hit, like the year before this. So you had that sleazier type of hair metal, kind of was Poison was a couple years before that. So there was like they were right at the belly of the beast with hair metal. Are they hair metal? Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
but I think they had other the first album was more hair metal to me than everything else because of the songs on it. I mean, you had Madeline, 17, Heading for a Heartbreak. And that's hair metal staples right there.
Hungry.
Yeah,
Hungry was
it,
on there.
yeah, Hungry was on there. I mean, they got some good ones on here. I had to one of Purple Haze was different.
Yeah,
That was I forget somebody else played guitar on that. And I'm like, it's baffling me. I should have looked it up. But there was like a guest guitar solo on that Purple Haze. And it was weird. But even all the songs on here were good. Poison Angel, State of Emergency. But Heading for a Heartbreak was the one I even as a ballad I thought was the best one. But I liked Madeline, 17, Hungry. I liked all that stuff. So I dug Winger from the start. I got to see them right after they came out, they were on tour with Bon Jovi and Bullet Boys and Cinderella. So they got pretty good touring spot right off the bat
yeah.
with the big boys. So yeah, I mean, I think the first album was definitely hair metal. It was the some of the biggest hits that they ever have. probably ever had, really, if you think about it. But I listened to the first two albums back then pretty consistently. So when you go to the second album, I mean, for me, this is In the Heart of the Young. Can't Get Enough was a big hit.
Yep.
It was a big one. And Miles Away, here you go again with another ballad. But this one was a little, I don't know, just a little different. Maybe not so much the, uh, what do you call it? Or the keyboards weren't quite as prominent, but there was still a good. I mean, the solos on those songs what made them for me.
Well,
The solo in Heading for a Heartbreak is just outrageous, and
well, yeah. And
the,
you
gu- the
get to the
guitar
heart of
work.
the young. It seemed like it was a he was trying. They kind of were going a little bit more hit oriented. It seemed
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah. With
because
the Easy Come, Easy Go, had the saxophone in it and all that. And it's like, yeah. So I think they were just like most bands at the time. They were just probably doing what they were kind of directed to do, what songs would hit best. But I liked Easy Come, Easy Go. It was kind of a different sounding song from what I listened to at that moment. But there was some songs on here like Little Dirty Blonde. I liked it. It was kind of a raunchy kind of song, and so the first album was an A for me. I mean, it was on. Second album was still there. I mean, it was like very high B plus, if not an A minus. So the first couple albums were really rolling, but then that gap between the second and third album is when grunge hit.
yeah.
So it's like, dudes, I didn't really want to listen to Winger a whole lot
Well, I mean,
in my mind. So I mean, you have similar experiences like the first two albums for you too?
uh, I mean the self titled released in '88.
Yeah.
So you hit the big ones. 17 was huge on MTV.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
They played the fuck out of that thing. So they were taking advantage of his looks and they had the hot chicks in the video and
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying.
Oh
And
yeah.
Madeline was a good fucking song. It got overlooked because 17 hit.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I'm
Definitely.
saying?
Yeah, I
And
think Madeline was one of the better ones that didn't
yeah,
get much love. Yeah.
I do. I think it kind of got overlooked because it was a solid song. Hungry was not fucking too bad. It was good tune. I had
Yeah.
never heard the Purple Haze cover until
Never heard
we
that.
no, I had
Oh,
never
until you
heard
did
it.
it too.
So
Okay.
that was interesting. I mean, it was a pretty solid album overall. Headed for a Heartbreak, just uh,
So it's cool.
yeah.
It's just cool.
Red Beach's fucking solo on that was ace, man. It was just fucking. It was tits.
Yeah.
It was pretty good. So you go from that to 1990. So you got a couple years. They toured the fuck out of that first album. And like I said, to me, it seemed like they were going more for hits. And,
Yeah.
there was, I liked Miles Away, was good. Can't Get Enough was catchy.
Yeah.
Easy Come, Easy Go. So you're talking, those were probably the three biggest ones that you heard on the radio.
Yeah. And I liked a lot of the rest of the album, but it was like those three were standouts. But it was still, I thought, a nice, solid record for somebody's sophomore effort.
Yeah,
Sometimes you get the slump, and I thought they held their own with not going into the slump. But unfortunately, they were out doing stuff in 1990, 91,
Yep.
and like a host of other hair bands, they kind of got ate up by the flannel, you know, and grunge just overtook. A lot of people that were into hair metal switched to grunge. Now, me, I'm a self-appointed, or a self acclaimed whatever ADHD when it comes to music.
Yeah.
So yeah, I followed whatever was new and shiny, and it was like listen to that, and then I go back to listening to my hair metal or find something else to play in that. So when it comes to the third album for Winger, it's like, dude, I barely remember it coming out. I barely remember hearing anything about it. And it was like all these people I've seen that are like into hair metal pretty good have talked about how Pull is one of the best Winger album. Now, I can sit here confidently today and tell you after listening to it a couple times over the past week, no, it is not the best Winger album. It's nowhere close to the best Winger album for me. Now, there was some cool songs on it. I mean, the opening song, you thought it's going to be like a snooze fest. It actually kicked in this blind revolution mad. But the one I remember was the Incognito.
Yeah.
That was the hit for that album, as far as I know. I mean, Down Incognito. That's the only one I knew going into it. But yeah, I mean, it was a decent album. Don't get me wrong. It's not a stinker, but it's not top. It's not even top three for me. It's like number four. So maybe number five. It's like it's a toss up. I just don't. I mean, I understand people have different opinions on stuff, but this one just didn't do it for me as much. I mean, all decent, and again, decent album. Not calling it a piece of junk or anything, but it wasn't one of my favorites. That was it for that.
Uh, 93. Uh, I mean, uh, yeah, it come out in 93. I don't even remember it coming out. I do remember
I
hearing
don't.
Down Incognito
Yeah,
got the radio play.
yeah, I
But
remember that one.
I like the Blind Revolution Mad. I like the Junkyard Dog. That was kind of
Yeah,
interesting. It was
yeah, that was
interesting.
different. It was pretty cool. I got to give it that. But
And
there's
the rest of it was solid, but nothing really grabbed me. You know what
yeah,
I'm saying? It was a solid album. The playing on it was good. His voice still sounds. It still sounded real good.
yeah. I think it sounded more. I actually thought he was hitting the high
Matured.
notes better. Yeah, on the third album. I mean, the vocal wise, it was like I first heard that Blind Revolution Mad or whatever. I thought it might be a different singer because I was like, wait a minute. So that's when I went to Wikipedia and looked up some stuff. I didn't, this is me being a dumbass because I've seen Winger more than once. I've seen him probably, what, three times, four times in my life. But, I guess I never gave the rhythm guitar player much love. They always had they always had a second guitar player. And I didn't know until I read Wikipedia, which is, give me it's somewhat reliable source, I guess. But they call them co-lead guitarists. They don't put so how many of those leads were John Roth? John Roth was on the first three albums, and then it switched to a different guy, I think. If I got to look it up. No, Paul Taylor was there, and then John Roth. So it's
Okay.
like they always had a good, but they call them co-lead guitarists. So maybe Reb, I know he did head. I mean, I know the leads I watched him do were the big hitters, but I wonder if some of the B sides or the other hidden gems or deep dive stuff. I wonder if that had any that were the other guitar player,
Yeah.
or maybe they were just following each other, and that's what they mean. I
Yeah.
don't know. So it was just different. I just found that interesting. That I mean, I guess I knew they were there, but I just kind of dismissed them as they were pretty good players, and keyboards to boot.
Well,
So
you get a hot shot like Red Beach. I mean, he's a fucking badass. So
yeah,
you think a winger, those are the two names that really fucking stick out.
yeah. Rod Morgenstein too for me because I was into the drum part of it. So, but it was like yeah, those two were the faces of winger if you want to
Yeah,
say that. More Kip than anybody, of
yeah.
course, because he's the front man. That's how it is in and plays bass and stuff. But yeah, this album, dude, I didn't get exactly all the hype, but I'm not gonna say it was a bad album.
Oh,
I just
by no means.
no.
It was a good album.
Yeah, and I just I guess I didn't jump on it as this unheard. I was waiting for some extravagant masterpiece because I hadn't taken the time to listen to it all back in the day. No, I didn't get that. The next one, though, the next one was the surprising one from Winger. Probably the second most surprising. I'll get into my other one later, but this one, Swinger 4. I didn't know anything about it. I had nothing about it. I don't think there was a hit off of this album. If there was, I don't know it. But as I listened to it, dude, I got this feeling. I just thought, you know what? Something's going on with these songs. His voice was still good. Everybody was still playing good, but it's like lyrically, what is going on? So I really sat down and listened to it and had the lyrics, going through my head. And I said, singing a lot about army stuff. Seemed like army stuff to me. And I looked at the cover of the album. I was like, okay, there's an army guy on here. And I went and looked it up. I looked up information about this album. And I mean, the songs are good. There's a few standouts on this one. Oh, which one's the one where I really, really liked? Oh man, what's that one? Uh Blue Suede Shoes, which is kind of a mellow song, but I liked it. But Your Great Escape, I like that a lot. Short Flight to Mexico, I like that a lot. But I went back and looked at it. It's a what they call a thematic concept album.
Okay.
So I'm thinking, who else has done a themed based concept album? I had to think. It's like, well, I know Queensryche did with American Soldier. Theirs was a theme based. So it's like almost the same thing. Now, I did find out by deep diving a little bit more that Kip Winger wrote these songs from his experience at doing the USO camp stuff. When he would
Nice.
go play for the troops in other countries. That was kind of his inspiration for a lot of these songs. So I thought that's very cool, and it's very an intriguing uh, idea for an album. So yeah, and then come to find out through all that this was all out in a theme based concept album. I'm like, man, it just made more sense. So when I went back and listened to it the second time, you could just hear a little touch of Kip voice to me. Seemed like he was really into these lyrics. Like when he wrote those, that this wasn't for a hit. He didn't give a shit about being a hit. It was just honest, him speaking honestly about his time playing for the troops. So I had to really admire the album. I thought it was one of the most unique albums that they had. It's like, but there wasn't a big hit on it. I never even heard of it before. So it was a pleasant surprise, this one. I mean, I really dug it. It was mellower in spots. I get it. But I think overall with the lyrics, the it was still catchy, a lot of them. They had some heavier ones in there, but knowing what it's behind it now, it's like it's a solid one for me. I really enjoyed this one more more than almost the rest of them when I really listened to the lyrics and stuff. That's just me.
Okay. I I didn't even. Uh, but at this point, 2006.
Yeah.
So October 20th is when they released it of 2006. Winger was not on my radar at that time. I think
No, me either.
we were busy gearing up to do our own shit, so my brain was all about that type of stuff and
Yeah.
us playing.
I mean, mid 2000s for me was emo, and stuff like that when I did listen to music because I listened to more music that I knew I wasn't going to play.
Yeah,
I kind of stayed away from like hard rock music because it's like I don't want to be inspired or influenced by anything else. And I liked the emo because I knew we weren't going to play the sound they had, but I
yeah,
liked it.
yeah,
But this album, man, it was just such a pleasant surprise. It really was. All well done, thought out. It's a shame that, I didn't know about it. It's one of those woulda, shoulda, coulda,
yeah,
and it's still nice that now I know it exists. I'll listen to it more because
yeah,
I really like the whole theme of it. So, I don't know why I like theme-based concept albums so much. It's almost like I wrote one myself, you
yeah,
know, and maybe just a touch, but yeah, I mean, I still thought it was neat. I did not know any form of a concept album was ever done by any hair band, much less Winger.
yeah.
And it's like other than Mindcrime and stuff like that, an American Soldier. But wow, yeah, I was happy with this one. I really thought it was good. I mean, it's not everybody's cup of tea, I'm sure, but I enjoyed it.
The fucking standout for me was I'd say Blue Suede Shoes. That was kind of cool. Uh, M16 wasn't too
Yeah,
bad.
yeah,
Those
that
were
was
those were the big standouts. Short Flight to Mexico. I think I remember listening to that. But of course, this was a once through deep dive for me. So
yeah, yeah,
I was trying to hit all these albums, all 7 albums, and
yeah,
to give it a listen to say okay. And it was solid,
yeah.
but there was only a few standouts that I really went, oh, okay,
Well, and to stay in true Winger form, they had to have a ballad, of course.
yes,
And on a day like today, and then it was weird because you have a day like today that was crazy good, but it was like different. I don't know. It was off, but it was still good. It's like really didn't sound like Winger music to me, but it was like okay, maybe it was just my ears that day, but it was still good. I mean, but they got to have a ballad on every song, every album, and I understand that. Nothing wrong with it. It's just there's different ones. But yeah, so they were at that time. I mean, they had that gap from '93 to
yeah,
2006. So yeah, they're going to be off of a lot of radars for anybody. There was a lot probably going on with them. I'm the same as you. Winger wasn't on my radar for a long time, and I would say they probably were just doing studio albums and a few shows, and that's probably all they were doing because I would have heard more about them, you know, way back then, but no. So, yeah, so I still call that number four. I still think it was a good album. I think it was better than Pull, is my opinion, but maybe not it wasn't anywhere near the self titled,
yeah,
not in any way, shape, or form. But the next one is for me, and this is gonna. It surprised myself. I really did. I didn't think much of this Karma album. I didn't know what to expect. I never heard of it. It's 2009 or whatever. And I'm like, well, this is going to be more rehashed stuff like pull because that, 4 was so different. It was like, okay, that was like an off album for that. They did that on purpose. This is just back to Winger. But boy, I was wrong, man. I was seriously wrong. Not only did they seem to get the guitars tone seemed heavier to me, the vocals seemed lower. It's like when he really dropped down his register. Of course, he's getting older by then. I mean, Christ, they've been 20 years into it at that point. So yeah, but there was some songs on there that were just I was really I didn't care for the first one or first couple even, but I like Big World Away. It was more melodic. Uh, Supernova was cool. They had this one down the guitar solos in the song Witness. I think that might have been where they were switching back and forth because the whole song was like filled with these this fucking kick-ass guitar solos, dude. I was like, what in the hell? It was just like Winger on. It showed this album to me showed off more than musicianship. Kip's
Okay.
bass gets isolated a lot. The guitar solos in some of these songs were just nuts. And Witness was right after all this time, which is the ballad for this album. And that was badass. But it was more of a that was more like the bluesy sounding ballad. And then Witness was kind of a ballad too, but it had crazy guitar solos all through it. It was, and then the piano song to end it was just like, Kip Winger, you're a fucking genius, dude. How did I miss this shit? I get this is one of my maybe my favorite Winger album.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I was like, it doesn't have any hits. It's just crazy good songs. But I mean, I'll probably always go with the debut because I know those songs pretty much by heart. But oh, Karma, I've played it 4 times now, I think, over the course of the week. And it's like,
Wow.
dude, I'm hooked on that Karma sound. It was the sound and overall. And for me, it was the last good Winger album.
Okay.
And this was more than good. But it's the last one that I say is kick ass. I don't know. I'm probably a minority. I'm sure I am, but that's just my opinion.
Well, I'll have to give it another go through. Again, we're going once through. Uh, Deal with the Devil kind of stood out for a starting track.
Yeah, it's okay.
I remember Supernova, but otherwise it was. I mean, I could tell there was a different sound.
Yeah, I don't know if it was different studio, different producer, but the guitars sounded not so.
Yes,
They sounded
right.
more compressed in your face. Kip's voice was changing, which they utilized that in a really good way. And I mean, you could tell it was Winger, but he lost the high end a little bit. And it happens. But he's respectable even now. But on that, it was like, man, you can tell it's different, but it's still good.
Yeah,
I'm not even sweating that the changed a little bit. I'm
yeah.
okay with that. So
Well,
yeah, definitely listen to Karma some more, dude, because it's better, way better than I ever expect.
I'm gonna have to give it a couple more listens then because, like I said, just running through it once, those two tracks really stood out. Otherwise, it was kind of like it was good, but nothing really smacked you around and said, "Oh, that was fucking awesome."
Oh, except for Witness.
Okay,
Got to listen to Witness
I'll
again for sure.
re-listen. I'll re-listen to that one because I just, like I said,
It's
I
just
was
the
kind
guy.
of running through them.
Yeah, the guitar solos, dude. I'm not even a guitar. I'm not even a big. I almost hate solos at points, but it's like those solos are just rat tat tat back and forth, back and forth. it reminded me of Striper in a way when they do it, but these were a little more gumped to them. So yeah, it was a freaking solid album, man. I was like, that's a shame, that it didn't get more love, and at least in my area, it didn't get any because I had no idea it existed.
Well,
It's kind
and
of weird.
again, we're in that day and age where it's not that hard to call up someone's catalog of albums
Right.
to actually
Yeah.
hear it. So this is kind of a blessing that we can actually go back and deep dive on stuff.
Yeah.
Honestly, I
Yeah.
mean,
I
it
mean,
is.
I love the physical copies of CDs and stuff. I do. I love the liner notes, all that good shit. But man, there's some of them that you go broke buying everything you like because I downloaded Karma already. It's like that's a fucking guy. I had no winger downloaded at all into
Wow.
my into my library because it's one of those bands I liked, but I was like, oh, you're okay, but I can listen to Winger.
Well,
Anywhere you go, hits of the '80s, you're gonna hear a Winger song. You can't go without it. But
well, they got pigeonholed. They got
yeah,
pigeonholed with the hair bands.
yep,
So, everybody goes back to the basically the first two albums, and then it's like, okay, yeah,
yeah, nothing
uh,
wrong with that. Nothing wrong with the
yeah,
first two albums, but and it's like I'm sure that they're not gonna live. They're gonna cry over spilled milk of the past, but man, it's just me as a listener. I fucking feel like I'm stupid. Why don't you just every time you hear of an album coming out from anybody, especially '80s bands, because that was my bread and butter. You got to at least give it a listen. I'm fucking guilty of that. I'm like, who
yeah.
cares about Autograph's new album? I did that a few years ago. Autograph, who cares? Our one hit wonder, blah blah blah. Dude, I heard that album. I was like, what the fucking hell? I missed out on Autograph? Really? Are you shitting me? Because it was great. This is 2018 or whatever the hell it was. And I'm like, dude, one hit wonder, you toured on that your whole life, but you got that good of music, that good of songs? Unreal. And that's how I felt about, that album. So even four, I even thought four was over just so different, but it was very cool. So yeah, I missed a few, you know, shining moments of Winger's career here that, God, I just wish he could almost for them. I wish they would have got more love and I would have heard it back then. So yeah, if you're into the new stuff from '80s bands, you gotta at least give them a shot because you might miss out on something pretty fantastic. Yeah,
So we go from 2009 to 2014.
yeah,
Better
another
days
good gap.
coming.
Yeah, better days coming. Better albums coming too. I hope because I did not like this one. I couldn't get into it very much. I thought some songs were kind of cheesy written again. It's like back to the cheesy writing, which they'd kind of avoided in my mind with Four and Karma. Rat Race, it was like cheese ball fucking lyrics. It's like, come on, man. The title track was shit. I mean, I don't want to bash on these guys but I liked So Long China. I thought it was a good song. Um, Be Who You Are Now, another ballad. And it's Swinger's ballads are fucking gold, man. He cannot fail on a ballad. He just can't. And that's probably the best song on there for me was Be Who You Are Now. I only liked a couple more. So Long China, like I said. Queen Babylon wasn't horrible, but it's like it's
Well, that was probably the one that I was like, okay, I, that wasn't too bad. Honest to God, and you're gonna hate me for it. It was it was good, but there was not a lot of standout at all.
No,
And I hate to sound like a broken record, but
it's true
nothing
though.
nothing grabbed me. It sounded like everything was solid. Again, you could tell the vocals are changing.
Yeah, they would changed a little
You,
more
you
on
know,
this
he's
one.
he's you
Yeah,
could tell he's getting older. So it wasn't really a lot of standout except solid playing. I mean,
yeah. I mean, it's not a. I don't want to say, oh, this is a abomination of an album. No, I'm not going to say
no,
that. It's just,
no, no.
I
But
was so hyped.
it was
Yeah,
spectacular. There was nothing spectacular. I'm
nothing.
gonna have to listen to "Be Who You Are Now" again to because it was just everything kind of blended at one point.
I get that, and it was like I was just so excited after hearing Karma. I thought,
Yeah,
man, that new direction, and I hadn't really heard but one song off the new album, the brand new one. So I like, well, maybe this album in between might be slamming because Karma was great, and that one
yeah,
song sounded like it was a hit. They wanted it to be a hit, but it had a little more angst to the guitars and stuff. So I was really looking forward to this. I don't know if it's more of the letdown or if it's just that it isn't a very good album. It's like a hanging on by a thread to a C for me. It's just like
yeah.
meh, nothing to it. It's not an extravagant effort. Now, I know, and what I did forget in this whole mix, I know there's a live album. I didn't know that either. I did not
Yeah.
listen to the live album. I
I
didn't listen to the
yeah.
live album, so guilty there. But again,
Well,
it's just they're
I
solid, but they're just not overachieving on this one.
they had a compilation, "The Very Best of Winger," came out in 2001, and
Huh.
it almost greatest hits type deal. So
Yeah.
I didn't listen to that.
No, I
But
just listened to the 7 studio albums. All I did.
yeah, they did have a live album in 2007.
Yeah.
They had two CDs on that. Uh, where's seven at? I must have missed seven. I'm scrolling here.
Seven's the last one here. It's 2023.
I don't have it on the list.
Oh, yeah.
That's
I
weird.
have it.
Oh
It's one
shit.
of those deals where you heard I heard this album was coming out. I seen the single for it for the last album, and it didn't get me enough to want to go listen to the rest of
Yeah.
it. It reminded me of when Extreme came out with a new song that was heavier, and I wanted to, I was like, okay, I got to listen to that, but I never did. That's sad. I never did. But then this Winger one is like, I was here. I was really interested in hearing a new album, but I'm like, that song's not getting it. If that's what the song is going to be like the album is, and I did not like it. A lot of people loved it. Proud Desperado. Not for me. I didn't care
Okay.
for it. And there really wasn't. I mean, there's some decent songs. Don't get me wrong, but stick in the knife and twist. It's a kind of a nasty guitar sound song, but again, we're back to the corny lyrics, man. It's just like I just couldn't get over some of it. It all comes back around. I mean, that's the last song. I don't even know, to be honest, 100%. I listened to this once, straight through. I can't even remember what the ballad is. It
Yeah.
was so disinteresting to me that I just kind of lost interest in wanting to hear any more Winger.
Yeah.
And when I do, I'm going to go back and listen to the Karma album again because, far as this one goes, seven was not heaven. Put it that
Yeah.
way. So yeah, I mean, you have some good, you have some bad.
I,
But Winger, I mean, if they're going to call it quits, I would say it's probably a good time to do it because unless they got another four or Karma in their back pocket somewhere, seven was like the album before it, and that album wasn't very good. Seven wasn't very good. So, I mean, for whatever reason, they're going to drop off and retire. It's understandable. They still had a great career. They still do have, you know, all kinds of stuff going on. Red Beach plays for Whitesnake, like I said. Kip Winger's got um, other irons in the fire that he's fascinated by, classical music, shit like that.
well, he's been composing, hasn't he?
Yeah, he probably, I know he has in the past, and I'm sure he will more once he's out of the band and stuff. But I think he's been, he's a great bass player all these years. Uh, Composing music, like you said, he was a ballet guy. Did ballet for, so you got to be talented. Even I don't care. I don't. I mean, I think we're beyond the fact of making fun of boys for being ballet dancers at this point.
Yeah.
But the thing about Seven that drives me nuts, and I will say this, is this the only album that Winger put out that had all the members playing on the songs, every song.
Wow.
Every other album had guest shots or somebody in the main vein of the band was not there.
Okay.
This is the only album that they've ever had out of all seven that had all the people playing on every song. And you're
Wow.
talking, well, Paul Taylor, if I remember right, Paul Taylor was the original second guitar player.
Yeah.
And he left after like third album or whatever.
Okay.
And then John Rolfe came in. And then you had I'm trying to read when they try to switch out and off, but there's a guy named Sank. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. He looks like he's been the keyboards on a few of them, and it's got a couple other people that were involved in the band that were on here. Uh, Additional this, additional that. But Paul Taylor was on this album, as was John Roth. So they were both on the last album.
Okay.
I think Paul Taylor was mainly the keyboard background vocals guy. John Roth was the co-lead guitar with Reb. Rod Morgenstein still there on the drums, and of course you had Kip. So it was like, yeah, I would almost thought that last album would have been one of the better ones, but who knows? They
Yeah.
might have been trying to go out of their wheelhouse too much, try to be more modern, and it just didn't. It didn't connect. Um, like I said, it's not a horrible stinking album or anything like that. I'm just saying, wow, it's not what I wanted to hear.
Yeah.
It wasn't what I was hoping they would go out with, but it's how it is, man.
Yeah.
So
Well,
I mean, what great winger for us on a scale here shortly of what you think about Winger, the career of Winger. Put it that way.
shit. I'm gonna give him from start to finish.
Yeah.
Start to finish, I'm gonna go a B to a C plus for total. They came,
Okay.
they came out real strong. First two albums are pretty good. The first one was definitely stellar. but then it's just, as you mature as an artist, you could tell that they were trying different sounds, or you know. So, like I said, B minus to C overall, because that last album, it was there.
Yeah,
Like,
it wasn't
once again, there was nothing spectacular, but nothing
nothing.
awful. You know what I mean? So it
Yeah, I
was,
didn't find anything about that.
yeah.
I didn't like it at all.
So yeah, it was just, that's how it plays out, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, you're not going to expect, not everybody has the luxury of having every album be a monumental hit for their entire career. As a
Yeah,
matter of fact, I don't know anybody that did that, that had every single album just be
bangers.
crazy over the moon. Yeah.
Yeah,
And, but I think enough for me, 4 out of the 7 were top quality, maybe 5, you know, kind of put Pool in there. I'm still not the biggest fan. Is maybe I need to listen to it some more. I don't know,
yeah,
but those last 2 albums were not good for me at
yeah,
all. Uh, what made it even worse for me was going from, I got the bump up from the Karma album that I thought was cool
yeah,
to extreme letdown to even further extreme letdown, and it's like, eh. But I mean, I enjoyed seeing them when I see them live, and
yeah,
if they are going out of all retirement from shows and everything, and it'll be cool that I got to see them because
yeah.
they're definitely worthy of all that. But I mean, I really don't want to go too high or too low on these guys. So I'm gonna go C plus,
Okay.
just because those last 2 albums were not for me, and I don't know. I think they had enough hits on every album, the first couple albums, I should say, to make them have their name in hair metal history for sure.
Yeah,
And I applaud them for trying to go out with the same lineup basically and go at it for 40 years, almost
yeah,
35 years, whatever it's been, and put out new music, which a lot of the hair bands don't. They just kind of give up after the hair band things ended. So, and they all went out and did other projects too. But they always came back home to Winger.
yeah,
So I give them a big thumbs up for all that because it's not easy to keep a band together for 30 years plus,
yeah,
and in that extreme pressure situations too. I
yeah,
mean, I'm sure they had people knocking on the door for Reb and Paul Taylor, or whoever was in the band at the time.
yeah,
Rod Morgenstein had to be a well sought after drummer too. So it's like, yeah, they stuck back. They always came back home, and that's beautiful that they did that.
yeah,
So, yeah, I'm not ashamed in any way, shape, or form. I don't think they should get the hate,
yeah,
especially from the '80s, late '80s, early '90s albums. And I love, surprisingly, the stuff in the 2000s. It's just once they got out of the 2000s, it was over
yeah,
for me. So that's how it is, though. Can't win
yeah.
them all. Can't do that. So Winger, I salute you if you are going out. Go out with a bang over there in the Middle East or wherever you're at now. And yeah, I still jam me some Winger. I still will enjoy it. That's all I have on Winger, man. It's
Well,
just good, solid band. What can you say?
they've always been great players, and you can't, you if you get to the point where you can't sing how you feel you need to sing, and it's a good choice that he wants to do that. And you're right. It's not like he's not going to do anything. He still could do whatever the hell he wants.
Yeah, I
So,
mean,
there's you don't hang your head for fucking Winger. They've had a great career. So, like you said, go out with a bang, and You know,
Yeah.
give them a little bit more love.
Yeah,
They
you got to
did.
remember.
They didn't deserve all that shit in the day. You know, they didn't.
No, no, they didn't. And Kip is a phenomenal music. He believes it. You know, when you're composing classical music and then playing bass the way he did on top of that, and then being able to sing and as well as he did for all those years. It's like when you know your body's telling you it's time. A lot of people don't give up because that's all they know.
Yeah,
Well, it's going to take a lot, I'm sure, for Kip to say, I can't play anymore.
yeah,
But it sounds like he's pretty clear headed about it. And you gotta give it up to a guy that, that knows he doesn't want to disappoint anybody that's out there listening to him that's a Winger fan. He wants to go out on top. And he did. I mean, as far as diehard Winger fans, yeah, they're gonna love Kip forever. I'm
yeah.
gonna say I like Winger. I'll like Winger. I'm gonna stay on that. That's where my stance. I really like Winger. Don't love him, don't hate him. I really like him. Two
Good
two
deal.
albums. The rest, it's pretty solid stuff.
Well, shit, that ought to fucking wrap it up this week, Mikey.
Yeah, yeah, it was good to reminisce on some Winger and find some very good Winger you didn't know existed. So I'm a pretty happy camper with the way this went down. We'll have to try to find another band in obscurity. Not really obscurity, but I have to go deep diving into another band like this because man, we might find some gems. You never know.
Yeah, yeah. It's you go with the hits and the stuff that you remember, and you just kind of ignore some of the new stuff, and it's kind of a shame. So
Yeah,
I want to go back and listen to you know the the fourth album for sure. I want to give that
yeah,
another spin.
yeah. The fourth
So,
album in Karma, I call that my listen to this if we have one this week.
oh,
Is
nice,
is is Karma for sure, but four if you are so inclined, it is a little bit different, but I really dug it and listen deep to the content of the lyrics and what the songs are about. I think you'll find it pretty cool too. So those would be my listens. Listen to this for
nice.
this episode.
All right, this is Skeet.
Caution, Mikey.
See ya.
Peace out.